This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again because it is so important. And that is, we all need to heal. I'm not talking about you fell, you hurt your arm, got to heal that. I'm talking psychologically, mentally, have to heal. What does that mean? Why do we have to heal? What's going on there? Many different modalities to get that done. And she practices somatic and spiritual psychology. She's also a master somatic movement educator and therapist, clinical hypnotherapist. Hypnotherapy was the game changer for me, by the way. And it's so great to dig into this today. Talia Shafir joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's an interesting question you pose because I think we really have to to define what do we mean by heal, and what causes us to get up one morning and go, okay, I got to know what's going on here, or what is it? Heal has a very finite uh, shape to it. It's like, oh, I had this, I had a cold and I healed. I don't have a cold anymore. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about, I think, is a strategy that we've been using to move forward in life. And all of a sudden we come up against the wall and the strategy doesn't work. And we don't understand why, and we get angry and we blame other people and and think, well, what am I doing? And well, I'm not doing anything. Well, it's like it's everybody else and it's the world and it's this, that, and the other thing. I think that heal is simply a word that says I've hit a block, and the resources that I have conscious awareness of and conscious access to. Nothing's changing this. It may change it for a little bit, but it's not sticking. And so what is this? And, that's why we have to engage the body. And that, that is, everybody's got their own somatic this and somatic that. And, if somebody says, well, raise your right hand, and okay, oh, hey, I did somatic therapy. Mm-hmm. Well, for them, they did. That's not what we're talking about. This is the difference, the somatic psychology piece and the somatic movement piece is about movement and patterning, because the way we move is how we organize, how we go into the world.
Do you mean physically move?
Oh yeah, move. Just like you did. Notice what you just did. It's beautiful. You opened your hand the same time you opened your mouth to ask me something.
I don't even know I do
that. Precisely. That's exactly my point. Thank you.
No, I'll never do it again. Oh, I just did it. Yes. I want to say this before we go into the definition of somatic, that kudos to anybody that says, I'm at that point. I know I need to heal. You, in my opinion, you are halfway there, at least, that you had that awareness, that you realize that you might have, probably do, stuff from your childhood. And you could even say, my childhood was great. There's no issues. Okay. That's what you remember. There's a lot more going on there. Right. And it could be something so, I don't want to minimize anything, but something so insignificant as you're 7 years old, you're on the playground, your best friend says, we're not friends anymore, and walks away. And now you've been abandoned. You've been left. That one incident, and maybe other ones that may present evidence to you that maybe you're not good enough or you're abandoned or whatever. That's part of what you need to heal from. Before we even go down that road, somatic, how do you define it?
Well, it's anything that soma is from the Greek word. It's Greek, right? Soma, the body, and it's basically when we talk about somatic movement education and therapy, its purpose is to enhance human functioning and integration of the body with the mind through movement awareness. So it is whatever you're doing, because there are many types of somatic movement therapy. Some you're familiar with, the Feldenkrais, Alexander, those kinds of things.
Do you mean the Alexander technique?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Those are movement. What are we doing here? We are identifying movement patterns and enhancing in the functioning of the body in doing that. Let's take just the physical. Let's say I've got a limp all of a sudden and I don't know what's going on, and I massage my muscle, and then taking it from a somatic movement perspective, I'm going to look at how you organize that movement, where it begins, what you're using to compensate, and how you can get back to a more efficient way of moving and release the pain, so that when you feel the pain, this is part of the process, right? You don't go, oh my God, I ran out of aspirin. I don't know what to do. I have to sit down. I can't walk. And then you begin saying, I have a bad knee. I have a bad back, and you don't even try anymore. But you're compensating. You're compensating in thought. You're limiting how you see yourself, what you can do. I mean, you go down the line. And in somatic movement therapy, and this isn't in every case, but we're taking this kind of study here. You know, you you might be able to sense where your weight is. What's your relationship with gravity? Be able to shift that weight and allow parts of the body that you weren't using before to take over the overused parts of the body, and all of a sudden the pain is gone. But now you have to practice awareness of how you're walking differently, or how you're sitting differently, or how you're getting up differently, or lying down differently. So it requires consciousness, but you go to the body because the body's telling you giving you a lot of information.
So I
Yeah.
want to put a microscope on that for a moment.
Sure.
Many of us, traditional therapy, even hypnotherapy, CBT, we get that. We understand that. That addresses things within our mind or our subconscious that may be holding us back. We're talking about here movement and
Mhm.
offsetting movement for issues. How does that, big question, how does that tie into your healing?
Yeah. I'm just going
Mentally,
to.
mentally.
Yes, I know you meant mentally
I just
because of what you just what
for
you
all of us,
just laid out here.
for
Right.
all of us.
Okay.
That wasn't for you. That was for all.
Oh, thanks. You know what? What's for me, what's for you is also for me. You need a
Yeah.
bit of humility when you go into a profession like
I,
this.
I just
I
I
have to
just want to
say.
be on the same page, because somebody hears that, because people may be thinking, oh, physical. Oh, she's talking about, my sciatica, or I got a little, thing going on,
Mhm.
rotator cuff issue. I'm
Mhm.
applying the movement technique, somatic
Mhm.
healing, to how that's going to make change within your limiting beliefs, your outlook, your mind.
Yes. So I'm just going to substitute one word for something you just said, which is offset. We're talking about repatterning.
Okay.
So let's use repatterning
Sure.
from a holistic perspective.
Sure.
Okay. The brain interprets the body's experience. Okay, that's what's going on. The story you've got going for you is as to what is happening and who you are in the moment, and what the context is it's many tiered. Let's put it this way. A very small example that you may have seen before because it's certainly not original, but it's this, if you just, you just kind of come here, just let your hand rest on your head rest on your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you just let yeah, just kind of, just kind of, maybe you just saw the news. I don't know, something. And now tell
Mm-hmm.
me, I feel great. I feel great.
Hmm.
Now, you could say, I feel great. Now you're going to get up, just like you did, and tell me, I feel miserable. Big smile. Well, I don't know what's going on in your body right now. Even just looking at me present two opposing things, language and the energy that that carries, and where my body went. And it's kind of a, wait a minute. That's not a, it's really hard to, it's hard to say, yeah, I'm really, I'm having a terrible time. And so what would happen? This is so, let's go. Let's just use a real life example. Somebody who comes on, maybe they are in the middle of the grief process, and which is real. I mean, it's not nobody's saying this isn't real. And they're I'm looking at them, and their shoulders they're hollowed, meaning that their torso is and back is moving into that sagittal plane. That's the sagittal plane, and 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 their head is down. And how are you? I'm okay. And so all right. Let's look. Find your sit bones. Okay. Where's your sit bones? And if people can't find their sit bones, I encourage them to put their both hands under their, as my grandmother would call it, their tuchus, which is a fine piece of anatomy.
I
And
haven't heard that word in a long time, and I love it.
well, there you go. And and feel it. And sometimes I'll show them a picture of the anatomy of the pelvis and see where the and I say, okay, now you know where they are. Take your hands, and let your body be supported by your sit bones.
Hmm.
And then you start to notice that maybe this part of you, the upper chest, the just below your clavicles, your collarbones, maybe you open up a little bit. Maybe your shoulders kind of move back, and your jaw maybe relaxes without your doing it. And notice how what I will politely call your pelvic halves, maybe that are touching the chair, just slightly be able to widen just a bit. And now you notice, have you, in the last minute or less, have you been thinking about what you just told me about how miserable you are with it? Oh no. Why? Because I was focusing on my body. So my response to that is interesting, huh? That our brains can do that. We change focus, we change how we feel. So nobody's trying to take away your grief. Nobody's trying to take away what you told me, 5 minutes ago, or what you want. Just notice the resource you used. And I didn't do this. I just invited you. You did that.
Hmm.
And so there's a whole there's a whole piece of encouragement, and it's true. I mean, when people say to me, God, it's so great. Thank you so much. I feel so much better. I couldn't have done it. It's just, you were great. And I always say, well, I'm happy because I couldn't have done it without you. And if I had to really, um, classify what the somatic component, the awareness, the body awareness is in a therapeutic container, it's that. I can't do it without you. I can raise my hand, doesn't mean you raised yours. Now, your muscles could basically respond from mirror neurons. Yeah, we can get technical, but if you're going to take that piece of information out of the session or out of this podcast, and if somebody just starts to notice, well, how am I sitting? So a lot of people do this, you know. Oh, I'm relaxing. Okay. I'm so tired. Okay, yeah, you look tired. Let's get some support. I said, oh, the chair. I said, forget the chair. Where's your sit bones? There you go. Oh, look, your shoulder just came down.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. All of a sudden, we're taking care of us, which is another topic altogether. What does it mean to take, this? So,
self-care,
I think,
sure.
yeah, self-care. But people, look, self-care is about, I'm going to tune in to see what I need. Now, you brought up something before, which is conscious mind and unconscious mind. I'm just going to put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what happens to us is in a very early stage. It can happen second trimester in utero, all the way through when, we have an explosion of neurons at various times in our development. But we're dealing with sensory memory. Now, you can't talk about sensory memory in that way. You can't say, oh, yes, oh, by the way, I want to add to the story, but my pinky remembers. Let me tell you what my pinky remembers. Well, you can't, maybe you can tell me after your pinky gives you the message, And it's like, so I say pinky. So immediately, I'll just give you an example. I go, oh, yeah, like that pinky swear. Oh, pinky swear. Oh, yeah, that friend on the playground that walked away. We were doing a pinky swear and they just pulled their hand away. Oh, that reminds me. Oh, yeah, and what's coming up now is I had that. I was about to eat a piece of cake because I thought, and it goes on. And so what seems like random pieces is beginning to change the narrative. How does it change the narrative? You asked me that. Well, you can see how some of it changes the narrative. It's like the I am. Well, I am miserable. I am better. So who's the I? We have parts. How we move is a huge tool, and it's a huge piece of information. It's not all of it. The narrative is very important. But if the brain is interpreting the body's experience and then creating brainwave patterns that, uh, become automatic, then you'll find that in some trauma therapies like sensory motor psychotherapy that, we not only have a bottom up piece, we have a top down. Somebody says, hey, you want to come to dinner? There's a new Indian restaurant going. Oh, I don't like Indian food. Oh, really? Well, this one is a little different. What did you? Well, no, I walked in somewhere and it smelled terrible, so I just walked right out. Oh, so you've never tasted it? No, I can't. And what's going on in the person? It's like they're already coming in. So just talking about it is okay. So what if we actually work with what that sensory input is doing? Okay. Now there are protocols and things like that. There's acupuncture and things like that.
Sure.
There's finding acupuncture points and holding an essence of a substance in your hand, and then all of a sudden the allergy is gone. I mean, this is not something that is a radical, maybe radical in some areas, but it has crept into many kinds of arenas. But this is about how our nervous systems are reacting, and how our nervous systems reacting is going to influence how we think.
You brought back a memory, a personal one for me, talking about the playground. I was bullied as a kid. I was the fat kid. Never got picked for dodgeball. All of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I remember activity period. There would be, yeah, elementary school. There would be, time we were go out on the playground after lunch and just hang out. I'm walking around by myself. When we talk about the memories of the physical aspect, what I just remembered this. When I would be walking around the playground,
Mhm.
sad by myself, just like, nobody to play with. I got bullied. I'd walk around like this, just with my hands behind my head. Not even kidding. I was like, 7, 8, whatever it was. And I just
Mhm.
remember that. I would just be like, yeah, just walking around. I got nothing to do. I mean, wait another 30 minutes, this thing will be over. But it's amazing when you start connecting the physical
Mhm.
to and that would be considered bullied as a kid, a trauma. Call it maybe a little T trauma. If it was, very
And
impactful, maybe big T trauma. It's amazing the connection.
yes. So I'm going to ask you
Sure.
if that fat kid on the playground who was bullied, if you close your eyes for a second and just see him, just close your eyes for a second and take a look at him.
I don't want
And and
to.
exactly,
I got you, but
exactly.
I got you though. Yeah, and I've done hypnotherapy
Uh-huh.
before, and
This is not hypnotherapy.
no, I know, but I'm
Right.
sharing that because
Mhm.
I've confronted those images. I was just kidding. I don't want to. I've confronted those images before during
Mhm.
hypnotherapy, but yeah, I'm going to close my eyes. Tell me what am I seeing?
Good for you, for brave. I want to. You've brought in your adult. This is your adult. You don't have to become him. And I'd like you to look. And does he really look fat? Terrible? Like, look at him.
No, just plump, if you will.
Yeah, just, yeah. You know what? You know what do you think his mother and his grandmother would say? Think he'd be healthy? Does he look healthy? Can we say he's healthy?
I would say that. Yeah.
Okay. You know,
The
and
only,
so
and now you brought back another
yeah.
memory.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would say things
Mm-hmm.
that weren't encouraging about weight, and coming from a good place, but and all parents. If I could go back to when my kids were younger, knowing what I know now, I might reframe things, even like fun things we used to say and things like that. Maybe that was making an impact in the way maybe that I don't know. I never shamed my kids. I wouldn't, nothing like that. I'm just talking about like, as a goofy dad, make up silly names and we goof around and everything, but a
Mm-hmm.
child could interpret that, as something in a negative way. You never
Well,
know.
that's right. It's about perception. So,
Yes.
here's the thing. Trauma isn't well, trauma from a physical, medical point of view. It's what happened, but trauma isn't what happened to us that hangs on. It's what happened afterward. So, what you're
Yeah.
describing is a a situation where you isolated.
Hmm.
Now, that's something that happens with trauma. You isolated, and so if we were going if we were going to examine this, we would also we would also say with this part where you were kidding around. It's like I don't wanna, it's like no, it's okay. I want to hear. Let's hear from the I don't wanna, kind of thing. It's that, but this movement. So I would slow it down and say, okay, so slow it down and when as you're slowing it, stop when you feel something else happening. Oh, I stopped breathing. Okay, bring your hands down to where you start again and stop there. Okay. All right, good. That could take like 3 sessions. We could spend 3 sessions on what happens because the information lies between my hands down here and here. There's a ton of information.
We're out of
And
time. We're
yeah,
pressing the pause button. Wow. So now
yeah.
it's coming clearer what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
And I want to compliment you on all of this, but specifically in my bullying situation, the fat kid situation, any practitioner I ever dealt with never said what you said. What did your mother and grandmothers think? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That I wasn't, there was nothing wrong with my size. It was, I'm a bigger kid. Then, I slimmed down when I got
You
seven,
you
seven.
grew you grew into it. You redistributed your health. I offer you one thing before we end,
Sure.
that you instead of referring to that past event as fat kid, you call him healthy kid. Now
Fair enough.
there,
Fair enough.
there you
And,
go.
and I don't use that in a negative term. I use that as a descriptive term for illustration purposes, if that makes sense. Because, you might not get it unless I said it that way.
You'd be surprised at how language connects with the nervous system. So
That's a
just
whole
try.
other podcast or 10 right there. Uh,
There you go.
amazing. How do we connect with you? How do we find you? Somebody wants to, I know it's just, this is a little deep here, but it is the key
Yeah.
to healing. How do we find you?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. I do not have a website. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me if anybody has some inquiry, and I work all over the place. I mean, I'm headquartered in New York City, but um, Zoom and
Sure.
things like that, it's
Yeah.
not a problem. And so through LinkedIn, through LinkedIn, but you can also email me at tshafir, TSHAFIR @me.com. So
That's pretty simple.
very,
And,
very
and
simple.
do you share your phone number too?
I don't particularly.
Okay.
It's probably public knowledge at this point, but things becoming as they are. It's on LinkedIn, I believe. So it's
Gotcha.
Dr. Talia Shafir, Talia B. Shafir, and you know.
Gotcha. Wonderful talk. Shafir, by the way, just want to just remind everybody, Shafir. Wonderful talking with you. I'm on my journey, as we all are. We'll always
Yes,
be.
all of
You,
us.
you shine some light on, for me and the rest of us, how the physical aspect has so much, there's so much there that we don't even consider. I never did. I appreciate that, and looking forward next time we get together.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, I just ask questions. I just sit here and ask questions. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
We'll be
Bye-bye.
right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.